Hello, everyone. Welcome back to College Football Corner. My name is Joe Archino, and we are upon the beginning of another campaign in college football. Now, if you can have to be in front of your TV for any game this weekend, I don't think there's any question that it must be Alabama versus Florida State, a potential playoff matchup the opening weekend of the college football season. Just some fun things that kind of make you look into this matchup even further. Florida State head coach Jimbo Fisher is 7-0 in season openers. Nick Saban is 10-0 against former assistants. And if that didn't make this game sound interesting enough, entering the game, Alabama has been favored in 97 of its last 98 games, which I think just speaks to how dominant of a force Alabama has been. But I think obviously when you look at the playoff, which is what we're all looking at when we talk about Alabama, we talk about Florida State. Right now for Alabama, it's avenging the loss last year to Clemson. It was very close. It came down to the final play of the game, and I think obviously Nick Saban returned some very important players, as does Florida State, but more than anything, I think Nick Saban has been laser-focused on this game, getting ready for it. Starting your season against a very difficult opponent like Florida State, which returns a lot of starters, is not easy. But here's Nick Saban on what he thinks of facing this Florida State team.
Florida State has got a lot of returning starters on both sides of the ball, especially at skill positions, quarterback, defensive players. However you want to figure it, 10 or 11 guys coming back on defense, which is one of the top defenses in the country a year ago.
Saban also went on to say that he thinks that in a challenging opening game like this, it's going to come down to who plays with the most discipline. In other words, who's going to make the least amount of mistakes. And I think when we look at Alabama, certainly that's when they're at their best, and it's one of the things they do so much better than anyone else. But I truly believe this opening monster game in the college football season is going to come down to the quarterback play. Both starting quarterbacks for each team. Jalen Hurts, he is entering his second season with Alabama, and then DeAndre Francois is entering his second season at Florida State. I think both of these guys are poised for major success, and from an athletic standpoint, both of them are just tremendous. They both have the wheels, they both have the arm, and I think both of them are going to come into the season being much better. But when I look at a guy like DeAndre Francois, last year wasn't the easiest season for him, but he showed such tremendous toughness and grit. 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a bowl win over Michigan, tremendous athleticism. He really has it all. And then I think when we look at Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, he just comes up short against Clemson in the national championship game, but he showed such unique poise for a young quarterback like that to get the trust of Nick Saban on a game-in, game-out basis last season. He showed himself to be a very trustworthy young player, and I think this season he's going to be even better. Here is Jalen Hurts asked on how he is a changed player heading into this game and this season.
Same guy, just a little bit more mature, experience, and I think that goes a long way. And I guess we'll see how different I am on Saturday.
I have no doubts that Jalen Hurts and DeAndre Francois on Florida State, for that matter, are going to just really take their games to another level each. And I think when you look at college football and the way we've seen the sport continue to move, the dual threat capability of players like them are just the next level of athleticism and just game changers when you're trying to match up against an opponent. And here's Jimbo Fisher on facing a player like Jalen Hurts.
I mean, he is a threat, and you watched it last year in the games he played. I mean, he ran for 1,000 last year. And he scored touchdowns, and he threw for 2,000 or 3,000, or however, 3,000 and some, whatever it was. So, I mean, this guy's very dynamic both ways. There's no doubt.
So I think we've kind of laid it all out, what you're going to be looking at. This is a game where all eyes will be on the quarterbacks. The two head coaches for each program are just two of the best in the entire world, in the entire sport. But I think for me, I said at the beginning of this show that Nick Saban's team has been favored in 97 of its last 98 games. For me, that's something very hard. I just think when it comes to the first game of the season, like Nick Saban said, it always comes down to who's going to be the most disciplined. And to me, I just think that's going to be Alabama. At the end of the season, who knows what could happen? Things change dramatically. And I think Jimbo Fisher's teams over the course of a season do a great job of becoming much more disciplined. But I just think in the first game of the season, very difficult for me to pick against Alabama. I have the Tide winning this game, and I think it's going to be very fun to watch both these young quarterbacks. But that is going to do it for this episode of College Football Corner. I want to thank everyone for listening, and until the next time, enjoy this weekend's action.